Every single day, we continue to see more and more drama piling up around the XRP community, and it is coming from very prominent figures in the space as well. In this video, I actually want to address a lot of things happening behind the scenes, not just pertaining to XRP, but also, for this entire space, for this technology behind the space as well, to be fully adopted, utilized at scale, and ultimately integrated into the global financial system. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. As we really look at this market right now, face value, things look pretty rough. It has been a very rough last, I would say, 8 weeks since going all the way back to like December. Not much has changed in this space. This is what the 1 year looks like, still pretty good, but this is what the last 1 month looks like on XRP. So everyone is really kind of getting caught up in the short-term price action in this space, but I want you guys to understand the macro view here for XRP and for a lot of the utility side of this space is extremely bullish. And we know that it is because of what's actually happening with this tech, and how we get to that finish line has already been outlined for us. Now, I want to start off this video with a post from a prominent name, which is Crypto Airy. Now, I understand the whole idea of trying to make sure that people don't get confused, but it could be in a much better way than this. Number one, we actually have here, if the XRP community focused as much on stopping its own misinformation as it does on arguing with Bitcoin maxis, we'd all be better. XRP is the only native digital asset to the XRP ledger. This is correct. XRP has nothing to do with ISO 2022. Now, this is actually incorrect. Now, I understand that as we really think about, ISO 2022 and what it actually does for this space, it's not that it has nothing to do with XRP. It's more so that ISO 2022 itself paves the way for these assets and this technology in this space to actually be adopted. Saying that XRP has nothing to do with ISO 2022 is just a general statement. And although, yeah, you could pick this apart and say, yeah, there's aspects of it that is true, it's technically wrong. Now, on top of that, we also have Ripple's RippleNet Biz is not the XRP ledger. Although, yeah, it's not. When we think about Ripple payments, when we think about everything that Ripple is doing, it does pertain back to XRP and the XRPL. We know that this is true because Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, even said that everything that Ripple does, they have XRP in mind because they want to make sure that XRP and the XRPL is one of the most successful projects in this space. I just think that a lot of these statements are very, I want to say, lackluster in terms of what they are, presenting facts as, because we could look at this and say, all right, well, David Schwartz's document is saying that XRP has nothing to do with ISO 2022. Although, yeah, when we think about ISO 2022 itself, it's not going to be a thing that pumps the price of XRP directly. But I do think that this is just one of the puzzle pieces to, actually having DLT adopted at scale. And don't worry, in this video, I will actually prove that. But let's actually go back to a post of mine. And this goes back to September because, again, I do agree with the idea that when we think about ISO 2022, first off, this was announced back in 2004. So 20 plus years later, we're now finally seeing this being adopted. It's now being adopted because, number one, messaging around payments is completely broken. It's plagued with inefficiencies, and messaging needs to be updated to actually accommodate for new technologies like DLT and blockchain. Now, I said that it was not designed for XRP, but Ripple was the first company utilizing blockchain to be ISO 2022 compliant. So again, I do agree that there is definitely a lot of nonsense in this space when it comes to ISO 2022 and XRP. I get that there's a lot of nonsense. I understand that there's a lot of misinformation out there as well because I see it on a daily. But I want you guys to understand that, when we think about technology, when we think about what's happening with payments, this is just one of the key steps. Now, I even said over here, and this goes all the way back to roughly 2023, because I have been talking about ISO 2022 for a while. We have taken a step back to my Volante post from May 31st. It really got me thinking again. In this article announcing that Volante will be working with Citi to accelerate ISO 2022 adoption, it mentions something interesting. Helping banks rise to the challenge and enabling them to meet critical deadlines without slowing down modernization efforts will be key to their success. Moreover, by deploying VolPay for ISO 2022 migration, bank treasury teams will be able to offer rich value-added data services to their corporate clients, simplifying reconciliation effort, improving straight-through processing, and reducing fraud. For those that don't already know, Volpay does offer integration and use with Ripple. On top of this, we do know that in a recent announcement from Ripple, they are focusing on streamlining treasury flows utilizing XRP powered on-demand liquidity. Within the Volante article, it mentions that they will be moving with bank treasury teams. Of course, we do not know, of course, we do know that Ripple has mentioned that they are competing with the liquidity of Citi. We also know that Ashish Birla has said that Citi will most likely be their last partnership. I do, however, believe that these connections are significant, and it does allow the opportunity for Ripple Tech to be offered to Citi clients. Now, again, if we want to focus on Citi here, it's totally fine. But at the end of the day, the big focus here is ISO 20022, right? The core of all of this is ISO 20022. Like, this allows everything else after that to actually happen. So if we want DLT to be adopted, if we want the infrastructure behind payments to be, completely changed, the number one way to do that is by upgrading messaging, making sure that the messaging is not fragmented, and then from that point, we could focus on clearing and settlement. Now, on top of this, let's go over here because this is from Smokedog, and we have check out this video and these 3 documents for a respectful rebuttal to the claim that ISO 20022 has nothing to do with XRP. Spoiler, XRP is closely tied to ISO 20022, all documented and straightforward. Check this out.
High care. In today's payment world, the standards are really different around the world. So if you're using the SWIFT system or TIPS in Europe or Fed in US, you follow a different protocol. In addition, the data that you can transfer, the richness of that data is really limited. So what you get is a bunch of closed networks that don't speak to each other and unstructured data that's opaque. So there's a lot of manual intervention and ultimately a really poor payment experience. With ISO 20022, these problems will be solved. So ISO 20022 is a global standard for financial information exchange. This enables interoperability between different systems, straight-through processing of payments, and rich data transfer. And it'll also foster competition because it's open and flexible. At Ripple, we've been aligned with ISO 20022 from day one. We've always recognized that this is the direction of payments and it'll be better for everyone. And we were really a first mover on that front. We've also joined the standard body to help contribute to how payments will shape in the future. Going back to your point around security, Ripple's also really committed to the highest standards in safety, privacy, and security. And a testament to this is that we have our SOC 2 certification. For those not very familiar with SOC 2 reports give really valuable information about an organization's security capabilities, so each of their customers and users can have confidence in that service, which means that anyone using Ripple's solution knows that we adhere to the most modern security and privacy standards. And in line with that, we've also received our SOC 2 Type 2 report. So not only do we have the policies and processes in place around various criteria related to security, availability, and the integrity of the system, but also that we've been doing so consistently for a period of time.
So again, the whole discussion here, and this is from the head of payment products at Ripple. She was also in, it was kind of like a conference, if you will, with the head of payments at Citi and also Swift. And again, the big thing here is making sure that the data is accessible, making sure that everything is, harmonized. Because if you don't have that harmonized approach to the data, to the messaging, then everything else is broken. So fixing this through ISO 20022 allows for everything else to be fully efficient, meaning now we can have payments on DLT rails. Now we could, streamline payments. We could have cheaper payments. We could have things that are moving near instantly around the world. Now, also over here we have, and I could open up all of these in a new tab just so that you guys can read it along with me. And there's actually another one down here. So here we have the first one, which is from 6 Group. So we have cryptocurrencies meet the ISO 20022 standard. However, recent developments show that cryptocurrencies are beginning to adapt the globally recognized and established ISO 20022 standard for the exchange of financial messages. This move can be seen as an attempt to improve interoperability in traditional financial systems while increasing acceptance and trust in cryptocurrencies. Advantages of standardization and interoperability. ISO 20022 creates a globally recognized framework for the exchange of messages for cross-border payments, including cryptocurrencies. Again, this standardization facilitates the integration of cryptocurrencies into existing financial infrastructures. And of course, you do get improved compliance as well. So you are boosting that credibility with regulators and traditional financial players. Then you also have the integration with central banks and financial institutions. Again, ISO 222 compliant cryptocurrencies have a greater likelihood of being integrated into centralized payment systems. We know Ripple is ISO 222 compliant, which technically means that their tech stack, which is again Ripple payments, which again promotes the use of XRP and XRPL, could be integrated within those centralized payment systems. Then, of course, we do have optimizing cross-border payments. We know that ISO 222 is the standard that is really kind of behind this. This has been documented from the BIS, from the IMF, which we'll talk about here in a second. Then we have greater trust and transparency as well. Examples, of course, they do give us a breakdown of some of the projects. By the way, this is from Six Group. This is not some small-time player out there. You have Algo on here, ADA, HBAR, IOTA, QNT, XRP, XLM, even XDC. And then we have a step towards the mainstream. The integration of ISO 222 into the cryptocurrency ecosystem represents a significant milestone in the evolution of digital currencies. While some enthusiasts may perceive this as a departure from the original philosophy of crypto, it could potentially serve as a pivotal step in promoting the adoption and diverse functionality of cryptocurrencies. The manner in which this dynamic unfolds and its impact on the global financial system remains to be seen. Now, on top of that, we also have it is a concerted effort to thrust their token XRP to the forefront of international finance. And this is through on-demand liquidity. They provide a token whereby one can achieve nearly instant settlements by using their token. Ripple is one to watch as this new global system rolls out. And then, of course, we have over here, this is the full breakdown of that. Ripple is one to watch. Again, this is just kind of reiterating that, but this is also talking about CBDCs. Now, focus on the CBDC effort here because that's a big one. But we also have ISO 222 should be, in theory, ensure the playing field remains level around, again, the digital currency revolution. However, the one crypto that could benefit is XRP, the cryptocurrency used on the blockchain-based payment system Ripple. This is one cryptocurrency that will be compliant with the ISO 222 standard, allowing it to operate alongside CBDCs within centralized payment systems. And by the way, Volante, which is a big player here, much more legitimate than anyone in this space, and I'm talking about influencers, including myself, they already said that Ripple was based on blockchain-based technology, aka DLT. And what technology are they talking about? Are they talking about, their own, Ripple blockchain that they don't have? No, they're talking about the XRPL. They're talking about XRP. But on top of this, right, all of this has been documented for years. The CPMI group, which is the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure, the one that Ripple joined with the BIS, this is a organization that's actually fully focused on making sure that the entire economy, the entire financial system is stable, efficient, and up to date in terms of the actual tech behind it. Now, on top of this, remember, this is the DLT-based enhancement of cross-border payment efficiency, a legal and regulatory perspective. This goes back to May of 2022. This is from the BIS. ISO 222 is mentioned here, and they even say that whereas mainstream countries are moving towards one common global standard for financial messaging called ISO 222, global adoption of this standard is accelerating with a number of high-value payment market infrastructures already live and more planned to go live by 2023. Now, we do know that ISO 222 is going to be fully adopted over the next roughly year or two. But the crazy part about this, right, is that's the messaging side. Messaging is being updated to accommodate for DLT. They fully break down how DLT can improve cost, speed, access, transparency all around payments. This is coming from the central bank of central banks, addressing how DLT enhances cross-border payments. Now, again, nobody cared about this document when it got released because this is May 2022. What happened? Well, Luna crashed. The entire market crashed. Everyone was focused on that. They didn't care about these documents. On top of this, though, here we have October 2023. Harmonized ISO 222 data requirements for enhancing cross-border payments. ISO 222 is so crucial for payments, but it's also crucial for the adoption of DLT. This even breaks down everything around ISO 222 and how this is going to harmonize data around global payments, allowing for the adoption of next generation technology. And in this case, it's DLT, automated, payments as well with AI. And here we have the realization of the benefits of adopting these requirements will depend crucially on their widespread uptake. As such, market participants are encouraged to begin preparations to align with the harmonized ISO 20022 data requirements in earnest, and by the end of 2027 at the latest. So again, they have a timeline on this, on when they must adopt this. On top of this, if we go over here, this was more recent. This was January 7th of this year. The BIS CPMI takes further steps to promote ISO 20022 harmonization for enhanced cross-border payments. Again, this is the group that Ripple is a part of with SWIFT. The CPMI to take steps for medium-term governance and maintenance of its harmonized ISO 20022 data requirements for enhancing cross-border payments. A panel of global ISO 20022 market practice groups will be established in early 2025 to support the regular maintenance of their data requirements. And then CPMI to promote and support industry efforts to develop global ISO 20022 market practice guidelines for fast payments based on the harmonized data requirements. Again, this is to support the G20's cross-border payments initiatives program, which is going to improve cross-border payments completely globally. This is a global harmonized approach to improving data around messaging so that we can improve the speed, the cost, the transparency, the inclusivity as well. So when we think about that, this is all tied right back to everything that we know when it comes to this technology. And even the IMF told us this. Back in 2023, they addressed this with ISO 20022. In fact, it addressed DLT specifically. If we actually look at distributed ledger technology in this, okay, we could see that when we go to the top of this section, all right, this is the importance of this tech. So we could see that the World Bank provides a suite of financial products and technical advice and analysis to help countries build sound, resilient, and inclusive financial systems. How are they going to do this? Well, number one, they need to improve data. Once they improve data, they can adopt the new technologies that allow for the improvements to actually take place. And in this case, we go back to the BIS with their DLT-based enhancements of cross-border payment efficiencies. And then we also look at central bank digital currencies, because in this post from the IMF, and this goes back to November of 2024, just recently, and if we look at ISO 20022 in this, along with DLT, we could see DLT mentioned 3 times here. The first one is the World Bank also actively engages in technical experimentation, for instance, recently partnering with the SMB and the 6 Digital Exchange to further scale efforts in the use of distributed ledger technology and wrap CBDCs in capital markets. Once you have tokenized fiat, in the case of stablecoins, you then tokenize central bank digital money through wrap CBDCs or wholesale CBDCs, and also just CBDCs in general. Now, on top of this, we also have another mention of DLT and AI altogether. This is different design options, could have diverse cybersecurity implications. And again, they're just addressing how CBDCs can be designed in different ways because of programmability, smart contracts, and even offline services. They could use new technologies such as DLT and AI. This is the beginning stages of this new financial system becoming a reality. And ISO 20022, yeah, it's a huge deal, but it's just one piece of the actual puzzle here for everything to be realized in. And this is all documented by the biggest organizations around finance. So when we think about ISO 20022, we can't just simply say XRP has nothing to do with it, because ISO 20022 itself is going to really, I would say, impact this entire space in a very big way that actually allows this tech to be adopted and utilized at scale. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on for more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.